Welcome back, everyone. This is your host, Martha Razo with the Fire Up Connect radio show. Aren't you the luckiest listeners? You have like a powerhouse of women here. Myself, Martha Razo, and Tammy Scarlett. So, Tammy, I just want to follow up more details on this. So, if I'm a business owner and I have money to fund my own projects, but I want to have cash just in case of emergency. Let's say there's a catastrophe in the economy. How do I make sure to procure a stash of cash that I can use?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really about if you're going to securitize a loan or try to get an unsecured loan. So you can use your business to do that. If you're leveraging your personal assets to do that, then you can do that as well. So for me, being a loan originator, a licensed loan originator with the Joel Schaub team, I will talk to people about where that comes into securitizing an asset against your home to utilize that for a mortgage. So, and then, before the break, we were talking about HELOC versus cash out refinance. If you want to take cash out, literally just hard gold cash, stick it in the bank, that's the cash out refinance where you're taking cash against the equity that is in your home and pulling that out and sticking it in the bank for a rainy day. And some people do that just because maybe they're concerned about the state of the world or what might happen next, or they just simply want the flexibility. Some people do it because they know that their kids are going to go to college, or they might want to build a pool soon, or whatever the next thing is that might be coming up in their lives. There's plenty of reasons to do it. But you also could, on the business side of things, you can look at business lines of credit and business credit in general that doesn't have anything to do with your own personal assets. So yeah, it's really just a matter of what is the right fit for each individual.
Okay, when you're talking about personal assets, this has always been a curiosity, and I hope people are asking these questions too. On personal assets, should you be concerned about what asset you put the loan against, or you should just
yeah, because I mean, so if you're securitizing a loan against your personal asset, it means that if anything happens where the loan goes in default, then what the bank gets to go after is that asset. So if you're securitizing, you're taking a cash out mortgage, that's against your home. If the loan then goes into default, then they can take your home. I mean, that's the same thing if you take a boat loan, same thing. If the loan goes into default, they can take your boat. Like any asset that is securitizing the instrument being the loan, that's the leverage that the bank can take if it isn't paid. So if you get a business loan and that business loan it doesn't have any collateral, it's not secured against anything other than the business itself, then if it went into default, they could come after the business, but they wouldn't be able to come after your personal assets unless you were taking out that loan as a sole proprietor, in which case it wouldn't really be a business loan. It would be, you taking the loan.
So I know the banks are really smart about this, but is there a way we negotiate that with the bank and say, hey, I have 3 properties. I only want to put this property on this? Because I know sometimes banks want to put all 3 properties, or land loaners. They want to do all 3 properties. Is that something you can negotiate and say only this and not that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every loan is going to have its parameters and guidelines for what is, going to be allowable. But you can, as just a standard in real estate lending, you can just securitize one property against one loan. So that's normal. If you get into the commercial side of things, then it's a little different, because you can sometimes take a pool of assets and do some combo stuff with that. Or if you get into like very, very high level lending, I have a friend who works in private finance at Bank of America. And if you're talking about, okay, well, I have a several $1 million art collection or something, that's going to be a whole different ballgame as well. But in general, if you're a small business owner and you're just talking about accessing some cash, if you're a sole proprietor and you want to leverage something like your house because you're trying to fund your dreams, then that's a way to do it. People do it every day.
This is amazing. So now when you have let's say you're looking at credit score and you have an asset, even though your credit score is not that good, is it possible to still get the line of credit or the loan for a mortgage if you have an asset to put the loan against. So how would that work?
Sometimes, yeah, low credit's a little trickier. So conventional lending, which is kind of like the standard for residential lending, is going to say that 640 is going to be about where you need to be, 640 and above on the mortgage model for credit scores. So the mortgage model for credit is a little bit different than the consumer model. If you're looking at your Credit Karma or something, that's going to show you your credit score for credit cards. You know, if you're going to take out a credit card, this is what the score is. But the mortgage model is gauging the probability of repaying a mortgage, not the probability of repaying a credit card, which you can imagine is a little more like serious of a debt, a serious level of a debt. So the score will be a little bit different. So on the mortgage model, it needs to be a 640 and above. However, that's for conventional lending. There are FHA options that will allow you to go down to 600 or even 580 in some cases, and still be able to do a mortgage transaction.
Okay. Well, I promise our listeners that now we're going to talk about you as a business mentor, not as the financial expert. So tell us more and share about how you work with businesses and how you help them.
Yeah. So typically, I mean, when I'm working with businesses, I actually have done a lot of work with strategy with businesses over the years, nonprofits, banks, and things like that, back to the early 2000s. But where I really enjoy working is with entrepreneurs who know what they want. They want to grow their business. They understand that there's value in investing in themselves, and they want to continue to propel themselves forward. And so I spend my time working with those types of clients one-on-one to be able to help them do that. And it sounds like you do something similar in your work, because when you go into businesses, you're also evaluating data that's specific to that business, right? And then helping them to see a path forward to be able to scale it.
Yeah, I look at their finances first. So I always want to look at a profit and loss, because that is the quickest snapshot to where the business is and the possibility of where it can go. Because let's say a business owner says, I want to make $1 million at the end of the year. But if the profit and loss is showing 10,000 in the year, there's no way that's going to happen, or we have to ramp up. That means either ramp up the number of people you have in your team, ramp up your resources. So this really gives you a snapshot where you're at and where you can go, and it lets you strategize on what you need or what is missing to achieve, let's say, from 10,000 a year to $1 million. And I love it because it gets into more data. So you look at the data from the financials, but then you also have to look at the data from the marketing platforms and the data from your operations, your production line, because these have to align. I call it the 3 data elements. This is my term. So production, financials, and marketing. These all have to align with the goal, and the strategy has to have all of these working towards that goal. Because if they don't, and if there is crossings, then you're not going to achieve your goal. So that's what I do. Every I look at all the data and gather this together, and then we create a strategy. And this is what I always get frustrated with people, is that your strategy changes. Everyone wants to say, oh, this is my strategy for the year. But that's not true. Your strategy has to change accordingly to what's going outside of you and what's going internally in the company. So I always suggest is reevaluating this on a monthly basis.
That's amazing. So can I ask, what do you love most about this work? Because I can see that this lights you up.
I love it. I love people. I love working with people, but I think what motivates me the most is that I've seen it in my family. And this is why I started my company, Solix. I saw my father working so hard. I mean, my father would work more than 14 hours a day, even Sundays. And he was not going to go so far, but he had it. He had the ambition. He had the hard work. But what was missing was a strategy. And if there is no strategy, you will not realize that you need more people. You need more resources. So your strategy is really what drives you and propels that hardworking, that motivation, and that ambition. And I see a lot of minority-owned businesses, a lot of small businesses, that they're not going to go far. And it's not because they don't love what they do. it's not because they're working hard, it's because they don't have a strategy. And the best way to create a strategy that's going to be like concrete, a strong foundation, is using numbers. Because what are you trying to achieve? You're trying to achieve higher numbers, whether it's your profit or whether it's your sales. And how do you achieve numbers? By looking at where your numbers are at. I love it.
That makes so much sense. This is so great. Well, so how would people know if they are your ideal client? Like who do you love working with the best?
So we're going to go on a commercial right now and I'll answer that question. Okay. Perfect. Who is my ideal client? Just so you know, let's summarize this. You just heard valuable information on how to get financing from Tammy, which you actually will be paying top dollar for the information that she's giving you here. So it's wonderful that you're listening, and tell your friends to listen to this because this is valuable information, or watch the recording. So we're going on a small commercial. Make sure you stay tuned. This is your host, Martha Razo with the Fire Up Connect Radio.